In this claimed 24-hour time-lapse from Dave McKeegan, we will look into some repeating phenomenon with the sun and sky, and also look into what the so-called debunkers have to say about it. First, let's look at the full video in question. Credit to YouTuber Anthony Bear to being one of the first to discover or mention this. Let's have a look at his breakdowns of this time-lapse.
Okay, here we are, Antarctica, 24-hour sun. Okay, look where the sun is right here in the beginning. So it starts like right there, next spot after that little V. Okay, now we're gonna go around. Oh, there's that little V, and then it's about right here, 44 seconds. And it keeps going up to 48. So there's about a 4-second overlap. Okay, so let's do a nice slow side by side so we can compare them. Okay, let's ease up in here. Okay, now, see this little flare down here on the ground? Right there, look. That's the same. All right, the little flare coming out of the sun, that's the same. Okay, let's creep up a little more here. The flare disappears at the exact same time. All right, cruising along. The sun shrinks. That's funny. Now here's your little cloud coming up on the top. It's a lens flare. Looks like a cloud to me. If it was a lens flare, then it would be there all the time, right? Because it's following the sun. All right, so now there's a cloud. Look at it coming in real nice. Now look at the flare off the top of the sun. And then there's a little flare on the left side of the sun right there that's identical. Wow, pretty amazing. Let's cruise back. There's your flare. There's the one on the ground. Right there. What can you say? Before you watch this, you might want to watch my last video, the final experiment, red flag. This is just a follow-up. Okay, so a lot of comments been saying that this right here is a lens flare. Okay, let's take a look at some lens flares. So here's a lens flare, and look at this one. It's a different color and a constant shape, and it moves around and follows the camera. Okay, here's another green lens flare right here. Now notice how it follows the camera. Move the camera around, it follows the camera. If I stop moving the camera, it stays just like that, right? But if I move the camera, it follows the camera, right? So it has to follow the camera. Okay, here we are back side by side again. Now let's put a marker on the sun, right there. And now let's take a look at this lens flare or a cloud. Okay, we're cruising along. Here's starting right there, right above the mark, see it? And now it's moving to the right, and then it fades away. So it's to the right, and then it moves to the left. So it doesn't stay in line with the camera. It's separate. Now, I think this would indicate to me that this is a cloud and not a lens flare. Okay, let's take a different part of the video. Here's a lens flare right here. Now see, it stays with the camera and the sun. It doesn't move. Now here's a cloud. Watch, it goes right through, it comes out the other side. So there's a difference. Now a lens flare would follow the camera and the sun, but it doesn't. Okay, so now let's take a look at this flare right here. Boom, that one. All right, let's take a look at that flare. Okay, so In the beginning of the film, you can see the flare right there. Now let's just cruise through here. Look at. Do you see any other flares like that? Let's just cruise through here. You can play the video yourself if you want. Look at that flare up there. There's a really cool one coming up right here somewhere. There's a cool flare there. Flare, that's a cloud. There's a cool flare right there. And boom, there's the flare again. The identical flares, 24 hours, right where it overlaps. Not looking good. All right, now let me show you something else real quick. Let's put in these two red cross lines for reference, and then let's zoom in. There they are. See these two faint little clouds? And those line up too. Let me give you some insight. Allegedly, there was a crew that went down to Antarctica to film a 24-hour sun. Now, there's some people in the round Earth community that think if you see a 24-hour sun, that proves we live on a ball. Well, looking at celestial bodies doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna understand what the floor is. But I understand where they're coming from, and I understand they think it's a big deal. So now, if you were going to fake it, right, you would have to show a 24-hour sun, and then where the film overlaps at the end, you would have an issue there, correct? I mean, you would have to edit it. You would have to make it look like the part where the old met the new, the last 4 seconds would have to be seamless, right? Where the old meets the new would have to be seamless. And you can see some anomalies here that make it a problem. So you tell me what you guys think. Okay, let's look at the 24-hour sun from a different angle here. Okay, so here's the beginning of the film, 00, right? And then you see that little right flash that you were talking about in the right corner. There's a little sun flare, and here it goes. Now there's that little cloud above it right there. So that's the beginning right there. 0. See that 0? Look at the clock. Now we're going to go all the way around. First of all, look which way the camera's moving. To the left. Right? Okay. The camera's following the sun. All the way around. Okay, now we get to here. This is at the end. I mean, this is where it overlaps, okay? See the little tail sticking out in the right bottom corner? Now watch the camera. It goes the other way. And then there's our little cloud on the top that's identical from the day before. A little flash that's identical from the day before. And then the camera goes the other way this time. So the first day the camera follows it, and then the second day the camera decides to go the other way, right at the overlap. So what's going on here? Did they play the film backwards or something so they would have the same overlap, or so the overlap would be correct, or I don't know. I mean, let me know what you guys think. It's a big glitch.
One last thing I'd like to show is footage of the northern midnight sun and how the lens flare follows the sun there, unlike in the claimed lens flare in McKeegan's footage. If it's not a lens flare, then it would appear that someone forgot to edit that cloud out or just left us a hint. Also, notice how it starts off very nebulous and forms into a shape. That's cloud behavior, not lens flare behavior.